What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Inmate to Roommate Season 2, Episode 4, I Thrive on Chaos. So let's get started, y'all, with David and Aaron. So David and Aaron go kayaking, right? I'm assuming they want to have a nice, relaxing day out on the lake, just having a good time. I didn't think that anything really heavy was going to happen, but y'all, David dropped a bomb on Aaron and on me as well because I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of his mouth. So they're out there on the lake, they're kayaking, and David explains to Aaron the reason why he got into social activism and prison reform. And he says to Aaron that he used to be a racist. Not just any kind of racist. He said that he was incredibly racist. And he says that he was a liberal racist where he wanted black people and or minorities to get equality, to be treated fairly, but he just didn't want them in his space. So go on and have your equality, and have all of your rights way the hell over there. Just stay away from my kids, my home, my schools, my jobs, my buses, but just stay away from what we got going on over here. So I don't know why that would make it. I'm not trying to say that he was trying to make it better by saying he was a liberal racist. Like, yeah, I still wanted equality for everybody. I just didn't want, minorities around me. I don't know if that makes it any better or worse, but I thought the whole thing was just really disgusting. And looked at David. I mean, I was kind of already giving him the side eye because he was having an issue with Aaron waking up singing gospel music. He didn't like the fact that Aaron prayed over his food. He didn't like the fact that Aaron didn't want to go march right after being released from prison. He didn't want to go do a protest march. He just wanted to go home and relax and take a nap after breakfast. He was looking down at Aaron when he didn't want to do all these things and kind of like judging him and being really critical of Aaron. So I was already giving David the side eye over that. Now, when he said that he used to be a liberal racist, I'm just kind of like, Aaron, do you really want to live with this man? I thought when he said that he was a racist, I thought Aaron really was going to jump out of that damn kayak and swim to shore and never be seen again. So then he goes on to explain to us that in his household, um, they grew up thinking that they were open-minded and that they never thought themselves as racist at all. But he says that when he got older and started, living his life as an adult, he realized that the way that he was brought up was racist. His parents, I guess, were instilling, some very racist beliefs in him by thinking that, yeah, they can have their equality, but we just don't want them around us. Just deplorable. That's just horrible. Um, Absolutely horrible. I guess you have your non-liberal racists who are like no equality and stay away from me, whereas David was like, okay, get your equality, but don't come near me. Y'all, I had no idea that there was like these varying degrees or varying shades of racism. I'm thinking that if you just see other people as less than, boom, that's it. You're racist or you're prejudiced. That's it. It doesn't really matter if you want them to have equality or not. You're just looking at other humans being somewhat below you, not being as good as you, not deserving the things that you have, etc. But let me get off my soapbox. So then Aaron asked David, well, so did you go into socialism and are you helping me because, you have this white guilt? And David says, no, I don't have any white guilt. And then, Aaron felt better about that, thinking that, David didn't have white guilt, but I think he does. I think David does have white guilt. I think that's the reason why he goes so hard on his activism and why his house is the way it is, where you've got the Black Panther and Malcolm X and all of these, uh, socially active type of paraphernalia or whatever you want to call it, decor all over your house, because I think he does have white guilt. I think he feels guilty that he used to think the way he thought, and he's trying to make it better by helping, prisoners and helping black people in this community or whatever he's doing as an activist. I think it is because of white guilt. But like I said, I was already looking at David, with a side eye because, he criticized Aaron for singing gospel music, for praying over his food, for not wanting to march the day that he's released from prison. And I was already kind of looking at him crazy, but now that he's revealed this, I don't know how I feel about David now. I'm having a hard time believing that he's really gotten this stuff out of his system. I think that can people change? I don't know. I don't know if people can change. I don't know. I have no idea if people can change. If people who I don't know. I don't know. I'm just looking at David really funny now, knowing what I know about him now. It's great that he admitted it and that he revealed this to Aaron so Aaron can know exactly what he's working with. But at the same time, I just don't know if David has really gotten over the way he used to think, or does he go so hard on social activism because he is still trying to eliminate those thoughts and those beliefs from himself. I don't know. So let's go ahead and move on to our newest cast member, Emily. So Emily is I don't know how old she is. She looks to be like in her early 50s possibly. She lives alone. She tells us that a few years ago she had her identity stolen, and ever since then she's been struggling to put the pieces of her life back together. So she's struggling financially and she needs the help, and this is the reason why she's taking in an inmate. Now, she's going to be taking in an inmate by the name of Jason, who is 50 years old. He just got done doing 3.5 years in prison for second-degree drug possession and financial fraud. Now, keep that in mind, financial fraud. And Emily has been a victim of financial fraud, and she's taking in an inmate who was convicted and did time for financial fraud. So not just once or twice, a lot of it. His record is pretty lengthy with all types of fraudulent charges. So he calls himself, as he's talking to us, Jason calls himself a master manipulator, and he says that he plans to manipulate Emily. Yeah, probably going to manipulate her right out of her credit cards and her social security number and her driver's license and everything else. He says he's planning to manipulate Emily so that he can get what he wants out of her. He says that he thrives on chaos. And she has taken this man into her home. She's a single woman, and she has taken this man into her home. So she met Jason through a friend of hers by the name of Cindy, not the other Cindy on the show, but another Cindy. And Cindy herself, I think, was going to be the one to take Jason in, but Cindy's daughter ended up moving in instead, so she couldn't take Jason. So I guess Emily had volunteered to allow Jason to come live with her. And when the producers asked her, okay, you've been a victim of fraud yourself. So why in the world are you taking in an inmate who's been convicted of fraud? She says, well, I guess I'm just a trusting person. Why? Why, Emily? Why are you trusting a complete stranger who's committed crimes, who's gotten arrested, charged, and convicted of said crimes, and the same type of crimes that you were a victim of? Why would you trust a person like that? Like, Emily, what is going on? The best way to figure out what someone is going to do is to see what they've already done. I'm sorry, I understand that people have this hope and dream that people can change and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But if you've been going to prison or going to jail multiple times, you've been arrested multiple times, for certain types of, why would you trust him? I can understand maybe a relative wanting to trust him, or someone who's known him for many, 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 many years, who can be like, yeah, he's gone through some stuff, but I really know him. He's a really great guy. He just got caught up. But Emily, you don't know anything about this man, and you're going to let this man live in your home. Okay, fine. So she says that she is aware. She goes, I don't know what all he's been convicted of. Why not? Am I the only one living in a state where someone's criminal record is public record? I don't understand. If you're going to have someone, a complete stranger, come and live with you, why wouldn't you look up to see what they have been convicted of? I don't understand. Or arrested for. Am I the only person living in a state where you can look up people's criminal records, and that state is Texas? Am I the only person who's like, I don't understand. So she says that she knows about his identity theft, but she doesn't know about all of his charges. Um, Anyways, so she's okay with him coming to live with her. I'm wondering if she's okay with him living with her, because she's probably hoping, in the back of her mind, that he will commit some type of identity fraud on other people, on someone else, get money to help her out financially. Maybe that's where she's hoping for. Maybe that's why she's cool with it. Because she's like, maybe he's going to continue trying to steal people's identities and try to get money out of other people so that he can help me out, until he steals your identity. So he calls her and she's talking to him on the phone, and he tells her, well, I can't wait to come out because I really want to be able to see some girls. And Emily was like, where? Not in my damn house. And he's like, oh, no, 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 not in your house. Just, I just want to go look at girls around. Now it's time for Emily to go pick him up. So, y'all, initially, before we get into that, initially, when they first put up his picture on the screen, this guy looked scary as hell. He looked like some type of villain from some type of action movie. He looked really scary. He had this mean look on his face. He looked like someone's worst nightmare. But then when he actually walked out of prison, y'all, he was barely bigger than Emily. He was like a really small man and, very unthreatening. I guess, that's what it takes to commit identity theft. You have to gain people's trust somehow. And he didn't look nearly as scary as his picture made him look. His picture made him look like he was going to be this 6'7", big, tall, muscular, prison yard looking guy. And no, he looked like a CPA practically. Moving on to Annalisa and Vanda and Mark. So Mark is back on his BS, y'all. After having that conversation with Annalisa about how he was going to do better, he was going to abide by his curfew, for at least 2 weeks, he was going to stay on the right track. The next day, he didn't even come home. That's how long that lasted. So he didn't come home. Annalisa has the audacity to say, well, I thought he was being sincere. Why did you think that, Annalisa? Why did you think that he was being sincere? What about Mark that you've known and seen so far would make you come to the conclusion that Mark has any sincerity at all about being good and doing good by you? So Mark stops by at the house, right? And he's like in a huff and puff, like, he's like stressed out and, like he's in a rush. And he says that he was feeling really sick and he needed to go to the hospital. Annalisa didn't believe him at all. She didn't believe him. So he leaves. So he's gone. And he comes back 7 hours later. And he says that he went to the hospital. And when he got there, they told him to come back another day. What hospital does that? You go to a hospital, I'm assuming like an emergency room or something, or a clinic, and you are in some serious, distress. You're having some kind of a medical episode, and they don't even examine you. They just tell you, oh, just come back another day. You're in pain. You can't breathe. You feel like you're dying. Okay, well, we're booked, so just come back another day. Like, what hospital does that? So that's what he tells the producers. So the hospital told him to come back another day. When he's sitting in Annalisa's living room, Annalisa's grilling him. Where did you go? What hospital? What did they say? What happened? And he's basically like, don't worry about that. That's got nothing to do with you. That's none of your business. Don't worry about it, because obviously he didn't go to the hospital. Annalisa notices that he's wearing a new pair of shoes, like a new pair of Jordans or whatever. And she asked him, where did you get those shoes? Because I didn't know that they sold shoes at the hospital. Of course, he didn't want to say. So then he was like, him and Annalisa, they start going at it. They're going back and forth. And he's like, you know what? I don't even want to stay here anyway because you got dog poop. We didn't say the word poop. You got dog poop underneath my bed. And Annalisa was like, is that right? There's dog poop underneath your bed. Really? And he's like, yeah, there's dog poop underneath my bed. And she's like, well, come show me this dog poop underneath your bed. So he takes her to his room, y'all. And the cameraman goes underneath the bed there is dog poop underneath his bed. There is actual dog poop underneath this damn bed. So, and Alyssa was like, well, yeah, no, okay, yeah, there's dog poop underneath this bed. And so Vanda, him and his, 65-year-old joints, get down on this hardwood floor, and he proceeds to cleaning out this poop, right? Okay, fine. So Annalisa and Mark, they get into it again. They're going back and forth. Mark's like talking about, I don't need to be here. Annalisa was like, you don't have to be here. If you don't want to be here, you can leave. You can leave right now. So Vanda steps in. And he's like, nobody is going anywhere. So then Vanda and Annalisa get into it because Annalisa accuses Vanda of taking Mark's side. And Vanda's like, I just want peace. I just want y'all to get along. So he tells Annalisa to leave the room because he wants to talk to Mark man to man, one on one. So he starts off by saying, Mark, I gotta have another, we gotta talk about this. And Mark is like, you know what? I'm not trying to hear nothing you gotta say. And Vanda's like, no, I'm not going to talk about Annalisa. What I want to talk about is I think you're doing a really good job. You're doing everything that you're supposed to do. Who, where, what, and when? How is Mark doing everything he's supposed to do when as soon as y'all got him from prison, as soon as y'all picked him up from the prison grounds, he was already messing up? Girls show up out of nowhere. Y'all got to take them out to eat as well. He doesn't come home. He stays out all night, comes back the next day with the same girls talking about, can we all stay here in my room, in my bed? Then he disrespects your wife. He disrespects you by saying that you're not man enough, that you let your wife run you and control you. When and where did Mark do everything he was supposed to do? Now, if he was supposed to be a complete jerk, yeah, you're right. He did do everything he was supposed to do to be a complete jerk. But other than that, he hasn't done anything positive. He hasn't done anything constructive. He lied to your wife's face, talking about he was going to do better, follow the curfew. And the next day, y'all don't see him. He skips out. He's gone all night. So then he tells Mark, look, I just want you to get along with Annalisa. Mark doesn't say a damn thing. Vanda says, well, can I get a hug? And Mark was like, no, I'm good. He's done hugging these old people. He's like, no, I'm good. And so then Vanda's like, well, can I at least get a handshake? Vanda, go sit down somewhere. Stop coddling this grown man who is purposely making the wrong decisions. You don't need this kind of mess in your life. Vanda, moving on to Cindy and Jennifer. So Cindy is she's the diabetic who had her leg amputated, but still smokes. And she is going to be taking in Jennifer, who's serving time or did a little bit of time for drug possession. She's got a drug addiction, drug possession, whatever, selling drugs, using drugs, just a history of drugs. And Cindy is expecting Jennifer to help her out in her house, to help her out financially, to help her out with keeping the house together, etc. And when Cindy told Jennifer that at the pizza parlor, Jennifer was like, wait a minute, I don't know if I can get you together until I get myself together. So now we're at Cindy's house, right? So no, we're not there yet. We're on our way to Cindy's house. So they're driving to Cindy's house. And Cindy has her friend who was driving her to the prison to pick up Jennifer, and now they're driving back home. So Jennifer tells Cindy, "Well, are we gonna stop by wherever to get my car?" And Cindy was like, "No, because my friend has to go to work." And so then Jennifer says, "But Cindy, we talked about it that we were gonna get my car." And Cindy was like, yeah, but my friend has stuff to do. He's got responsibilities. He's got his own thing going on. And so Jennifer now is upset because she can't get her car. And she tells Cindy, well, today was supposed to be my day. What the hell does that mean? Today's supposed to be your day. So we all have to bow down to you and kiss your feet and do whatever you bid us to do because today is your day because you got released from prison. Because, okay, let me just stop right there. So they get to the house. As soon as Jennifer walks in, she talks about the house is really gross, that it smelled really bad. Cindy takes her to go see her room, et cetera, et cetera. And then Jennifer reminisces about her own house. So evidently she had her own house for 12 years and she ended up losing her home when she started getting in trouble and going to jail. So the next day, Cindy's making breakfast, and we all know on Inmate to Roommate, when it's the next day and the owner of the home is making breakfast, it's time for some ground rules. So over breakfast, they start talking about some ground rules. And Cindy tells Jennifer there's a 9 p.m. curfew, no men for the first 6 months. And then she's going to the store. She has to ask Cindy if she needs anything. First of all, let's go back to the no man for 6 months. Why 6 months? Like, what happens after the 6 month? Now it's like a complete brothel in your house. It's a complete free for all. Men just coming in and out. Why only for the first 6 months are you prohibiting her from seeing men? So Jennifer, her main issue was the curfew. She was like, well, I'm going to need a little bit of wiggle room with the curfew. And Cindy's like, nope, no wiggle room, 9 p.m. because I don't want you out there all night long because there's a higher chance of you getting in trouble. If you need to be out after 9 p.m., then I can be with you. I can be with you. Okay, like a chaperone. And so Jennifer was like, well, I'm going to need my space from time to time. And Cindy says, well, you got your own room for space. You don't need to be out there in the world for space. You got your own room if you need. What? Okay. So Cindy says that if you don't like the rules, you can go live somewhere else. She says, I'm doing this for your protection because I don't want you to get in trouble. Jennifer's like, you know what? I need a breather. I need a breather. So she steps outside for a cigarette and she's telling us how she already has a mom. She don't need a mom. And that living with Cindy may not be all that it's cracked up to be. She said that when her and Cindy were talking on the phone while she was still in prison, they were getting along really great. And so Jennifer had like really positive expectations with this whole living arrangement. But now that she's actually with Cindy and sees what Cindy's all about, she's beginning to have some second thoughts about this arrangement. So when she comes back in, she tells her that, this is a little bit too much for me. I feel like you're really trying to control me. Cindy tells her that I just don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want you to go back to your old ways. Now, that's understandable. Okay, that's understandable. A 9 p.m. curfew, maybe 10? Can we say maybe midnight, for a grown woman who's got kids? Can we say, you got to be home before midnight maybe because these people have been incarcerated and now they're out. You can't have such a short leash on them. I think it's going to make them rebel, and it's going to make them go crazy and just act impulsively because they're going to be so upset and so frustrated with all of this control that it's not going to take much for them to go back to their old ways. But anyway, I don't know. I've never lived with an inmate, so I don't know. So Jennifer agrees. So Cindy tells her, look, if you can prove to me that you can be a good girl, keep your nose clean, do what you're supposed to do, then maybe we can talk about, this wiggle room that you want. I can kind of loosen the leash a little bit. So Jennifer agrees. But she's like, once again, she's like, I don't need another mom. Okay, I'm already dealing with my own issues with my own mother. I don't need another mother trying to control me. So Jennifer thinks that maybe living with Cindy may not have been such a great idea. You think? Moving on to Daniel and Kathy and Devin. So Devin made it to Texas on time. Hallelujah. So what ended up happening when his car broke down, when his car overheated, actually, he called his PO, which was a smart thing to do. He called his PO and told his PO, look, my car overheated. I'm still in Colorado. I'm supposed to make it to Texas by whatever time, but I am going to be late for my first parole meeting. And so the PO says, as long as you bring pictures of your car overheating, I can work with you, but this is the only time that I'm gonna let you slide. The next time you violate, back to prison you go. So he gets to Texas that night, and he meets Kathy. They show him his room, which is a nice little setup. He has his own room. I don't know if it's like an extension of the house or if it's inside the house. I couldn't really tell. It looked like it could have been a garage converted into a room. I don't know. But he has his own sofa bed. He has his own refrigerator. He has his own laptop, and he has his own television. And it was a nice setup, y'all. It was really comfortable, really spacious. And he had the audacity to say, well, we're gonna need an upgrade on that TV. Well, how big was your TV in your prison cell? How many inches was your television set in your prison cell? Were you working with 64 72 inches in your prison cell, talking about how this TV needs to be upgraded? And it's your very first night in these people's home, and they made up this really nice room for you, a nice bed, your own laptop, a refrigerator for yourself, and a TV, and you're gonna complain, child. Okay. So the next day, over breakfast, you know how it is. Over breakfast, we're gonna talk about some damn ground rules. So they tell him any use of drugs, instant eviction. You're out of here. No discussion, no questions, no nothing. You're out. They also tell him no profanity and no overnight guests. And of course, Devin doesn't like that. He talks to us about how I'm 24 years old. How come I can't have over? Because you're in these people's houses. in this people's house. You cannot bring strangers into these people's home. People that they don't know. Your drug dealing, alcohol drinking friends cannot come and spend the night in these people's home. You can do all of that in your own damn home. So Kathy tells them, we're going to give you 90 days. We're going to see how it goes for 90 days. We're going to give you 90 days to get yourself together, get a job, start finding a place of your own. Except because Kathy's like, I'm not trying to have you stay here indefinitely. 90 days and you're out. 90 days, you got 90 days to get yourself together. So then later on, we realize that a lot happened. A lot happened when production left. So coming to find out, your boy Devin, he disappeared on them. They hadn't seen him since breakfast. He was gone. They hadn't seen this man since breakfast. Coming to find out, Devin got arrested because they found needles and powder in his car. Already to a horrible start. Devin is off to a bad start. Your boy Mark, off to a bad start. Who else? Now with David and Aaron is doing fine. I'm just worried about David is off to a bad start, talking about how he was a liberal racist. What? Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video, like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.